Have you ever wondered what the tribes of ancient China were like? The common image of fierce peoples usually points elsewhere, but from early on, Chinese territory brought together warrior communities with their own strength. Instead of a single unified kingdom, there was a mosaic of peoples with their own stories and rituals. In the east, tradition speaks of Taihao or Fuxi. In the north and west, the Rong and Di appeared. Farther north, the ancestors of the Xiongnu and Xianbei emerged, shaped by horseback riding and conflict. Among all these names, one group stood out: the people of Huangdi. Survival wasn't enough. They wanted to move into the Central Plains, where land and trade routes determined the future. The way they named themselves said a lot. Each tribe took the name of its leader, and when that leader died, the name changed, as if memory itself guided their shared identity. In Huangdi's case, the clue of the bear totem points to the mountains of Zhuolu in the northwest. From there, as nomads, they descended into the valleys, learned to live with the cycles and seasons, and traded part of their wandering life for gathering, herding, and more stable camps. Step by step, the story of these tribes stopped being the margin of history and became the fabric upon which China would come to see itself. Huangdi emerges as a leader who brings order to a disputed land. His victory over the Yan tribe and the expulsion of the Nine Chu Li fixed his memory at the heart of China and fueled stories of strategy and courage. While that image took shape, another cultural center was rising in the south. About 5,000 years ago, the valleys of the Yangtze River saw Hemudu and Majiabang begin rice cultivation. Over time, Liangzhu inherited and expanded that legacy, connecting with the knowledge of Longshan from the Central Plains. By the 9th century BCE, northern groups like Gu Wu and Yue had joined the political and ritual systems, learning the language, mastering local customs, and refining the art of war. Their position among swamps and river routes encouraged shipbuilding and surprise tactics. Songs celebrated their campaigns, while metalwork and craftsmanship pushed production to new heights. In this way, myths, techniques, and alliances wove together into a single historical fabric, uniting victory, farming, and navigation in one continuous path. Over the centuries, the heirs of those ancient tribes gained influence in Chinese politics. Their campaigns, especially against Chu, built their reputations and sparked lasting rivalries. The most famous between Wu and Yue lasted for 3 decades and ended with the victory of Gujian, king of Yue. With the rise of Qin Shi Huang and the unification of the country, Wu and Yue were absorbed into the Qin Empire, reaching as far as Guangdong. There, new districts were established, and local leaders began serving under Qin officials. Later, under the Han, Yue was divided into Nanyue and Minyue. Zhao Tuo raised Nanyue for a brief period before it was conquered by the Han. Like tides reshaping the shore, Chinese settlers slowly advanced over Yue lands, pushing them into narrow valleys and mountain ranges. Unlike the nomadic Xiongnu and Xianbei peoples feared in the north, the Yue rarely posed a threat to the empire. They lived under its influence. Life revolved around farming. Women worked in the rice fields, and men tended the land. This long coexistence led part of the group to assimilate, becoming part of China's ethnic mosaic. Today, their descendants are mostly found in Zhejiang and Guangdong, where they've adopted local customs and language. Even so, some branches linked to the Tai Kadai, such as the Shan, Muong, Dai, and Zhuang, have preserved their own traditions. Some migrated to Mon Khmer regions seeking autonomy and preservation, keeping a thread of continuity between past and present, proof that history is also written in the choices of those who decide to stay. The Shaolin warrior monks sparked the imagination by blending Zen with the art of combat, a legacy that has lasted for centuries. Movies and figures like Jackie Chan brought the monastery to the world's attention, turning it into a symbol of Chinese martial arts. But behind the shine of the screen lies a discipline rooted in history. At Shaolin, technique isn't just for self-defense. It's part of a spiritual path that hones both mind and body. Breaking bricks and boards, more than just a show, expresses discipline, focus, and mental control, the very core of Zen practice. These trials, repeated day after day, build character and presence, showing that real strength comes when silence guides every movement. It's said that the tradition began with Bodhidharma, an Indian monk who brought to Shaolin a method that combined mental discipline with physical practice. His exercises strengthened the monks to endure the mountains and handle the dangers of the road. As invasions increased, the training evolved. Along with empty hand techniques came staffs and spears, used to defend the temple halls. This firm stance made the monks symbols of combat and service to their community, far from the exaggerations of the movies. Their paths, full of purpose, still inspire followers today. And one question remains: what happened to the tribes mentioned earlier? Between farmed plains and dry steppes, a group of tribes made up the people of the hills. From Hami in the west to the Xing'an Mountains in the east, they appeared in Zhou chronicles as the Rong or Hu, feared neighbors and warriors. Some Russian historians see them as ancestors of the Tangut. Others link their branches to Mongol groups and the Xiongnu. During the Iron Age, they occupied areas from the headwaters to the middle course of the Huanghe and extended as far as Sichuan. In daily life, a unique structure prevailed. Women led the work and made decisions, and men followed the rhythm they set. With Sinicization, that balance gradually shifted, while their image spread through Chinese art, which portrayed them with mixed features and placed them at the center of many struggles. Through encounters, conflicts, and cross-cultural influences, their memory crosses borders and continues to intrigue those who seek to understand the making of Northern Asia. Heirs of the ancient Rong, the Tanguts brought together tribal traditions and Tibetan influences, embracing Buddhist practices and a disciplined outlook on life. Between the 11th and 12th centuries, they built Xixia, a state strong enough to negotiate with and challenge China. The fame of their warriors, trained to endure and strike swiftly, supported their expansion across border routes and desert fortresses, where caravans and armies competed for passage. But their peak carried the seeds of decline. Discipline gave way to a comfortable elite, and the absence of hard wars dulled the edge of their weapons. Defensive outposts weakened, and once useful alliances cracked under pressure from watchful neighbors. By the 13th century, the tide had turned. Unified under Genghis Khan, the Mongols advanced, broke through fortifications, and crushed the Tangut dynasty. Xixia fell, closing the cycle begun by the Rong's descendants and reopening, across the steppe and Chinese frontiers, a new era of clashes that reshaped kingdoms and trade routes. Long before the unified empire between 1766 and 1122 BCE, the state of Shan Yin, also called Zhongguo, thrived as a political center. Like other ancient societies, its rule eventually gave way to the Zhou tribe. The monarchs, the Wangs, starting with Wu Wang, granted lands and honors to their allies. The system maintained alliances but also opened the door to corruption. In daily life, men spent years in military training, while women cared for the home and prepared food. Over time, Zhou's power thinned out through internal rivalries and tribal clashes, breaking apart into feudal states. Wars devastated cities and farmlands, leaving fields strewn with the dead. In 260 BCE, Changping captured the ferocity of the era. After defeating Zhao, Qin's army buried alive about 400,000 prisoners. Qin's strength lay in its tactical design. Young soldiers at the front to break enemy lines and veterans in the rear to hold defense, forming a belt that kept the battle steady until fate tilted in their favor. First recorded in Chinese sources in the 5th century BCE, the Xiongnu were nomadic warriors whose pressure led to the construction of fortresses that later joined together to form the Great Wall. In the 3rd century BCE, a Shan Yu united the tribes and built a domain stretching from Mongolia to southern Siberia, and from Manchuria to the Pamirs. With around 300,000 mounted archers, they had superior mobility and posed a serious threat to China's war chariots. The wall helped limit their raids but couldn't fully secure the northern frontier. To contain the danger, the Chinese combined diplomacy with political marriages, bringing the two cultures closer and seeking lasting stability. Alongside fortified borders, tribute agreements, trade exchanges, and family alliances aimed to create a balance that constantly shifted between truce and tension. Around 50 BCE, the Xiongnu Confederation began to break apart. One faction accepted Chinese influence, another moved westward, reaching Central Asia. In 93 CE, China and the Xianbei joined forces, faced the Xiongnu at Yibai, and won. In 155 CE, the Xianbei commander Tian Shihai dealt them another defeat, splitting the Xiongnu into 4 branches. One was absorbed by the Xianbei, another settled in China, a third headed toward Tabrigaite and the Black Sea, and the last pushed even farther, reaching the regions of the Volga and Don rivers. After mixing with Turkic and Ugric tribes, part of this group would later be recognized in Europe as the Huns. Today, echoes of those social traditions still linger in remote corners. By Lake Lugu, at the foot of the Himalayas, lives the Mosuo people, a matrilineal society. There, women run the household, manage resources, and pass down land from mother to daughter. In contrast to neighboring arranged marriages, they practice Zohun, or walking marriage. From adolescence, partners maintain relationships through nighttime visits without the obligation of living together. This arrangement preserves autonomy and sustains family networks centered on the female lineage. Among the Mosuo, the arrival of a nighttime visitor is marked by a simple gesture. A hook hanging on the door holds the guest's hat and avoids misunderstandings. Children born from these encounters stay in their mother's home and are raised by aunts, uncles, and grandparents. Each household brings together several generations under the leadership of the matriarch, the eldest woman. She organizes daily life. Women take on the heavier tasks, while men usually handle lighter and community-related duties. For most of the last century, the region's isolation, about a week's journey to the nearest city, frustrated efforts to assimilate them into Chinese culture and helped protect local traditions. Today, the state sees this way of life as a tourist attraction. In Luo Shui, the tradition has been reshaped for visitors, sometimes far from the community's real daily life. But in remote villages, customs still pass from generation to generation, sustaining home and family life. In today's China, groups with their own lifestyles have become rare. Standardization policies push for adaptation and leave little room for difference, forcing traditional communities to negotiate how to keep their ways alive.